There's not anything anybody said.
I love the red hat.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Women's Coffee Club. We created this club to provide a safe space for women to share and inspire each other, and we are so happy to have you here. And our presenter today is Tamara. So excited. The topic is how to reprogram your brains to get new results. So we're so excited. It's such an exciting topic. So Tamara, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and then why you choose this topic, please.
So good morning, everybody. And I want to put a little, I've been having computer issues. So if it goes down, I will get back on my phone and try to do it that way. But everything was like last night, the computer went down and then the power went out. I was like, well, this is good challenge, you know? So I used to, a little bit about myself, and it's going to be a little bit in the presentation, but this kind of stuff used to like freak me out, and I would be all over the place, like, oh my gosh, I have to just stop. But since I've been working on reprogramming my mind, it's definitely, I look at it more of a challenge now rather than a obstacle. So, but I'll tell you a little more about myself in the presentation. So,
do you want me to allow you to share, Tamara?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, you can share now.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
It says Zoom.
Oh, good. Okay, so good. And we need to,
yes, we can see it now.
and there's a way to start the slide. Okay. I got on a little early today so that I could have it all set up, and then nothing was working until like 3 minutes before, and I'm like, what's going on? Okay, what can you see? Can you see my notes?
Yes, very nice, pink and purple.
Okay, so there's supposed to be a way to do where you
we can't see your personal notes, Tamara. We can just see how to repattern your brain, your cover, and then off to the side we can see until you make the unconscious conscious.
Okay, so then those are my notes then. Trying to remember how I was able to get the notes to go out. Well, I apologize.
I think your smaller slide is your next slide. It says next slide.
Yeah. And then if I go down, you'll see my notes.
Yes, we can see it now.
Yeah, and there is a way to do it without seeing the notes.
Well, we don't see your notes.
If
It's
I go
just
down,
the screen.
yeah. Can you see the notes?
Don't worry about your notes. We just want to hear.
Yeah,
from you.
it's okay. Just go on, Tamara. It's okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. So how to repattern your brain. Until you make an unconscious, the unconscious brain conscious, it will control your life. And we usually call it fate, by Carl Jung. I found this yesterday and I was like, yeah, that is so true. So our thoughts turn into things, and many of you already know that. And you think about your computer that you're watching on this right now, or your phone. It was first thought of before it was a thing. When we think about something enough, we start speaking about those thoughts. creating a stronger vibration into the universe. Many times our thoughts and our words do not align, which causes a conflict and the vibration gets off balance and we don't get what we want. So for example, we may have a desire for a dream home and we think about it often, but when we go to tell someone about it, then we say, oh, I probably won't get it though, or it costs too much. Or as if my family would say, something always goes wrong. The words we say trump the thoughts we think. So being careful about the vibration of the words that we speak is important. So let's start at the beginning. Scientists have shown that children from the 3rd trimester in utero until the age of 7 years old take in a plethora of information. And there's not much discernment when that happens. Much of the information that sticks in our mind is what is usually repeated over and over in our environment. When we get into trouble for doing something wrong, then we create a memory in our conscious mind that tells us don't do it again. Or if we burn ourselves on a stove, then we know not to touch the stove again. So what about those patterns that are not so clear? You know, the ones that continue to give you the same bad results that we keep getting over and over again, and we just don't understand why. Doing the same things over and over is creating a stronger connection between neurons, and the neural pathways become very embedded. Hold on, I got to move you guys over a little bit. Doing the same things over and over is creating a stronger connection between neurons, and the neural pathways become very embedded. That is why we keep getting the same results. And when we fail to stop the pattern, then the more embedded they become and the harder it is to break the pattern and get a different result. Psychologists say we have a recording going on in our minds all the time. Unfortunately, many of us have negative dialogues, and they're going without realizing it. But the good news is we can shift our thinking to positive. First, it takes noticing our thoughts, and the second is replacing them with the truth, which is don't just accept whatever comes your way in life. You were born to win. You were born for greatness. You were born to create and be a champion. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to reorganize itself by performing new neural connections throughout life. This means that the brain has the capacity to change and adapt in response to new experiences, learning, injury, or disease. So neuroplasticity occurs through several mechanisms, including the synapse plasticity, neurogenesis, and myelination. Synaptic plasticity refers to the ability, the connections between neurons to change in strength, which can enhance or weaken neural signaling. Neurogenesis refers to the formation of new neurons in certain regions of the brain, which can occur throughout life. Myelination refers to the process by which the axons of neurons become coated with myelin and fatty substance that speeds up neural signaling. Neuroplasticity plays a crucial role in learning and memory, as well as in recovery from brain injury or disease. For example, after a stroke, the brain can rewire itself to compensate for damaged areas by forming new neural connections or by strengthening existing ones. Similarly, in individuals with certain neurodegenerative diseases, such as Alzheimer's, neuroplasticity can help delay the onset of symptoms or slow the progression of the disease. If the brain can regenerate and make new connections to replace damaged ones, then what's to say we can't generate new neural pathways to achieve the goals that we want in our lives? Why can't we take all the old programming that we learned growing up and reevaluate them and make connections that benefit us? The good news is that I've seen hundreds of people do just that. They have put themselves in a group setting that allows for a different way of thinking, and they glean what they want and make a ton of progress. Well, I'm not sure where the rest of my notes went on that one. So let's paint a picture. Here we have a grassy meadow All these beautiful pieces of grass and flowers are the information. So all of this here, can you guys see my cursor? No? So all the grass and flowers are information that we're taking in during the first 7 years of our lives. We typically don't remember everything in our conscious brain, but all these memories are stored in our subconscious until we are ready to use them. Our thoughts are usually determined by our environment at first. Parents, teachers, media, friends, and so much more influence our thinking. There's nothing wrong with that, and the thoughts we have usually serve us until we get to a point that those thoughts are not doing us any good anymore. And in many cases, these thoughts can hold us back or even hurt us. As we are growing up, we decide what to think by our current knowledge or what is happening around us. As we become adults, our needs and wants change. So now that we're older and we have more awareness, we get to choose the thoughts. We get to choose what we want to eat or when we want to go to bed. Most importantly, we get to choose our careers, our houses, or even the children we want. Many of us live by default. We just take whatever comes to us and call it fate. Now, nothing is good or bad until we decide it. What may be good for one person may not be for another. Take being a parent, for instance. I wanted nothing more than to be a mom, and I wanted 6 kids. My friend, on the other hand, hated being around kids and in no way wanted to be a parent. So being a parent to me was blissful, but to her, it was a treacherous and daunting task. So when we take in information, everybody takes it in differently. Even identical twins who are raised in the same house with the same parents and go to the same school come away with different ways of thinking and experiences. I worked with a man who was an identical twin. His name was Noah. He and his brother, Jonah, would go to their uncle's house as kids and play board games together. When Noah had become an adult, he and Jonah, well, both of them became an adult. They had not been over to their uncle's house in a while. And Noah asked Jonah if he would like to go over and visit the uncle. And Jonah said, why? He was always mean to us when we were kids. And Noah said, no, he wasn't. And Noah said he'd never seen any kind of meanness from the uncle, but his brother saw something completely different. They would go there and play games together and they'd go home. They both took away very different experiences. Okay, back to patterns. Imagine riding a bike through this meadow that we had a couple of slides ago. And what do you think could happen? If you went over this meadow over and over again, it's obvious from the path right there. When riding a bike or walking on a path over and over, the ground gets worn until the path is easily accessible. This is the same for the neural pathways in our brains. The more we use certain memories or experiences, the easier it is to fall into the reaction and therefore the result. The more times we think a thought, the quicker and easier it is to pull that thought to the surface and use it. The more we use it, the more it seems to be right. So when we do something different, it feels like we're doing something wrong. Consider for a moment that you want to change the way you think. Is it possible to make a new trail or a new pathway? Absolutely. We all can. I'm going to give you 3 comprehensible ways right now. So we're going to talk about the subconscious and the conscious part of the brain, where the neural pathways connect. We are so used to using the conscious part of our brain that we do not realize that we have access to way more thoughts and power that is held in our subconscious. We only know what we know, and because we use these thoughts, more often they seem like they're the right thoughts to have. So growing up, I was sick a lot. It seemed like everything that went around, I got. I was constantly at the doctor's. It was so constant that even when I got a sniffle, I would go to the doctor. When I became an adult, I found myself going to the doctor more than my husband and my friends. When I noticed this, I started shifting my thoughts so that I didn't feel like I needed to go to the doctor, but it felt really weird. I would start thinking that I was getting worse until a fear talked me into going to the doctor. Fortunately, I had a doctor that was saying, come back in till 3 weeks and we'll see how your symptoms are doing. And he wouldn't give me anything. He'd sent me off. At first I got mad. Here I spent all this time and money to come see him, and because I was sick, and he doesn't even give me a prescription. What kind of stuff is that? So I would soon find myself grateful, because all the time I was getting antibiotics, I probably shouldn't have. Without the doctor's awareness of the way I was programmed, I would probably still be running to the doctor with every sniffle. He helped me to tap into my subconscious healing component and bring it to the conscious part of my brain. Eventually, I created a new pattern, and now I rarely go to the doctor. I don't know if that's a good idea there either, but there is no right or wrong or better or worse. It is just what it is. The fun part of realizing we have control over our circumstances by the way we think is empowering, and it opens us up to the whole new world. Now, if you choose to get to an experiment, you get to experiment with your thoughts instead of acting from habitual patterns that were set from all those sources discussed previously. Now you get to shift your thoughts to think in a way that allows you to achieve all the dreams you want and would love to achieve. So let me give you another example of what I changed as a small child under the age of 7. I was outgoing, vibrant, and full of life. When I turned 7, my mom married a man who was an abusive alcoholic. I quickly learned to be quiet and tiptoe around. After a few years of this, I became pretty much a submissive slave, I would call it. That was the only way I didn't get hit or beat. At the age of 13, I became depressed and I felt unworthy. I felt like I could not do anything right, either at home or at school. I would make friends, but it would not take long until I felt like I was letting them down too. Then I hit out about 17 and I got mad. I got resentful. I was upset for various reasons, and many of those thoughts and feelings contradicted others, but I didn't realize that until much later. At 18, I had my daughter, and I was so happy I did. Now I had someone to love and who would love me back. This is what changed the trajectory of my life. I knew I had some things wrong in my programming, so I did what I could with what I had at the time. I thought if I could marry into a good, loving, and kind family, then I would become good, loving, and kind as well. Makes sense, right? I mean, I had lived in a mean and violent family for so long, and that led me to be angry with those around me. Why couldn't I change that being around good and kind people? Well, it made sense to me at the time. After being beat down for many years, I met and fell in love with my husband. I actually manifested him. More about that another time. He was kind and loving, but I was so used to being treated badly that I expected him to treat me badly as well. So I acted in a way that was defensive because deep down, I was still angry. Not at him, although he is the one who took the brunt of it. When I figured out what was going on, I had almost lost my marriage and alienated my kids and my family completely. So our brains are like computers. They are a lot of things that are running in the background. There are different programs that run all the time, such as security and other information that keeps it running. There are important and not so important programs running all the time. Being aware of this of what is running keeps us on top of the outcome of our work, correct? Our brains are a lot like computers and have a ton of programs running that we don't even realize. Our heart is always beating, our lungs are always breathing, and our reticular activating system is always looking for answers to questions without realizing it. It is so far-fetched to say that information that was programmed in our subconscious when we were kids is running in the background either. It is not so far-fetched. There we go. So side note, experiment with the particular activating system. I do this a lot. I think of a color of a car that I don't see very often, which after a bit, I start seeing that color of car daily. I did this with an orange car because I knew I never see those kind. That week, I started seeing them everywhere. I even saw 5 of them in the little tiny gas station that we have up here on the corner one day. I had to laugh. The point of this is that there's so much information that we pass by until we become aware of it. Okay, back to the brain. We have our 5 senses that are very tangible. We have sight, hearing, tasting, touching, and smell. They are front and center. There's no denying these, right? We have an indicator of when our patterns are no longer serving us as well. What are the signs, you ask? Noticing our longing and discontent. When we notice there is something that we want and we pay attention, then we act, and those wants get results for us in the present. Many times, if we don't get the results that we want, then we typically ignore or push down those wants and desires, either because we're disappointed or because we feel like the people around us don't approve, or it goes against what society tells us is right or wrong. So we end up staying in the state of discontent until something comes and bangs us over the head, like an accident or near-death experience, or even something like having a baby or getting married. These all have been, excuse me, these all have a deep impact and can change our ways of doing things. My programming was so embedded that I had these all happen and until I decided to make a change. I think the most impactful was my near-death experience. I will have to save that story for another time though. When we start noticing and taking action on the longing and discontent, we notice that our minds and bodies will contract, and at first because we are creating new neural pathways and forming new habits. Let us first remember that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience, and our spiritual side wants to expand and create. Our human side wants to stick with the old patterns. But the good news is we can change our patterns by awareness and repetition. So have you ever decided to change something in your life, like go from wearing colorful clothes that your mom used to dress you in to wearing something more neutral or gothic? I had a teenage daughter who went gothic on me. So at first it was a little strange, but the more you do it, the more natural it seems. Or changing what you eat to something that's more healthy. At first it tastes weird, but the longer you keep at it, then your taste buds get more used to it. Repatterning our thinking is much the same. So when I had a desire to get rid of the excess weight that was causing me to feel awful, I had to first make the decision and then to discover what would propel me into the results I wanted. So I went to a nutritionist and she gave me a list of foods I could eat. Let me tell you, the list had only about 10 things on it that I could eat. My husband, on the other hand, he would bring home everything sweet that he wanted while I was trying to eat healthy. At first, it was tough to stay on this healthy eating process. But when I lost the weight, I was so glad I did. Then when I went back to the old way of eating, the food seemed weird again. My habits had changed for the better. My mind got used to the way of eating, so the old ways seemed to be wrong. Our minds will do that. What we tell it, as long as we stick to it long enough to create the habit of a new way we want to be. What is the habit that you would love to repattern? Is it the way that you eat or the income you make? Would it be making more time for family or to be more loving? What is the result that you would love, and what patterns need to be changed to get there? Do you remember this guy? CP3. I remember in college, I would start a new class. Many times I had no idea what to expect going in and I was scared. I had 15 weeks to learn everything so I could pass. And since I was paying for the class, I surely didn't want to have to pay for it again. Many times I would imagine CP3O and I would ask, can I just take out the old chip in my head and replace it with a new one? That would always get a little laugh because we really did not believe that we could reprogram our brains. The thing is, we don't really want to forget everything that happens in our lives because those things brought us to where we are. In a place of awareness to know we want something different. I like to say everything happens for the greater good in our lives, even if it seems bleak or dark. There always seems good in everything. Steve Jobs says you cannot connect the dots going forward, but you can going backwards. Meaning we don't always know why we are going through a trying time at the time that we're going through it, but we certainly can when we get to the other side. Every now and then, CP3O would need to get updated information. The clinician would take out CP3O's chip and replace it with a newer, upgraded version. His upgrade was a lot like our awareness levels. He would have to learn a new way of responding as humans. When we decide to make a change, then we have to learn a new way as well. So I remember him being like unsure of himself when he got the new chip and he would be fumbling a lot. And this is what happens to me each time I start a new era in my life. I stumble, I'm unsure in many ways. A tool that I learned and am about to show you was really helpful in my expansion on this journey. So expansion is not always easy, but many times it is. To get through the tough parts, there are some small things to remember. First, notice your thoughts. Psychologists say that we have this recording going on in our minds all of the time. Unfortunately, many of us have negative dialogue going without even realizing it, but we can shift our thoughts to positive. First, it takes noticing our thoughts, and the second is replacing them with the truth, which is don't just accept whatever comes your way in life. You were born to win. You were born for greatness. You were created to be a champion in life. While we are repatterning or reprogramming our brains to get the results that we want, just notice how your mind is reacting. Don't put any judgment on it. Just notice. Are the thoughts you're having expansive or contractive? Contractive is when your mind and body are fearful and it's causing you wanting to run and hide or fight. An expansive feeling refers to a state of being in which one feels open, free, and limitless. It is often associated with positive emotions, such as joy, love, and gratitude. When we experience an expansive feeling, we may feel as though our awareness has expanded beyond our physical body, and we may have a sense of interconnectedness with the world around us. So if expansive, then notice how it feels and keep moving forward. If contractive, then notice that feeling and what may be the cause. Look around. Are you really in a dangerous situation where you need to run, fight, or hide? If not, then the feeling is because it's our old pattern and they're at their upper limits and they're ready to die. Once you get beyond that fear barrier, then a new pattern will emerge, therefore creating a new neural pathway. I know because I have done this many times in the past 10 years, and I am happier and more fulfilled now than I've ever been. One of the sayings that helped me through some of these really tough patterning situations, this is what it looks like while it's all coming together. I'll repeat it again. This is what it looks like while it's all coming together. Each time we rise up again and we build new muscle and grow new ways of responding to situations, circumstances, and conditions. We will get back up and then we'll repace ourselves. Most of all, we remember that each time we repace, we must give ourselves grace. Everyone stumbles in the beginning. That is how we learn. So remember this saying when in a place of rising again, give myself some grace, repace, and I will win the race. We will make mistakes. It's a given. This is how we learn. Albert Einstein was asked one time by a reporter, how did you survive all those failures? Einstein looked at the reporter in bewilderment and said, I never had a failure. It was all feedback. Nothing we do goes unused. We learn from things that work and things that don't. So don't be afraid to get out there and ask your questions. Make your moves, because each one of us, or every one of us will get closer to our dream. So when we repace ourselves, we're growing and stretching to become the people that we have decided to be. We are creating new neural pathways every day. Make sure that they're what you want to create. I just want to reiterate this, as I feel it is very relevant and important. When we make a decision to change our thinking, then all the other stuff, good and bad, will rise up to keep us, our human selves, the same. Nothing wants to die, but in order to get results that we want, then the old pattern must go away to make room for the new. It may seem awkward at first, but just like with anything new, we will stumble a bit until we figure it out. That is where the grace comes in. We forgive ourselves by saying, or we give ourselves grace by saying, this is how it looks while it's all coming together. So ask yourself, what are the results that you would love in your life? What gives expansive thoughts and feelings? What brings you joy and fills your heart with happiness and love? So thank you for coming and seeing me today. And if you have any questions, I would love to take them.
So Tamara, can you stop the share? Okay, thank you. That was great information. We all have this negative pattern in our head, you know, all the bad things we tell ourselves. I can't do it, I'm not enough. All of these, yeah, I agree, we need to change that language, how we talk to ourselves, you know, all the habits, the pattern. It's a recurring, it keeps coming back. Like you said, it's the subconscious mind that keep, you know, telling us things that are not true, but we are so used to thinking that thoughts that it keeps repeating again and again, and it takes an awareness to be able to repattern it. So let's share what are some of the habits you'd like to change, and or some of the effort. What are your thoughts about this topic? Binta, you want to start?
Well, thank you so much, Tamara. That was so powerful and so encouraging also. Your words are so beautiful. And for me, anyway, it reiterates the importance of my own, you know, having be the one who's in charge of the way that I think. It's like my thoughts are like, I think of it, I tune into a radio station. What kind of music do I want to listen to? Do I want to listen to hard rock or pop or rap music or I don't know, like classical music? So I am really the one who's in charge. And for me, something you said actually struck me, because sometimes we are into our own patterns. That's, you know, an event happens in your life that wakes you up, that tells you, hey, wake up, you know. For me, that's what happened. A few years ago, I got into an accident that hurt me. So I was hurt and I didn't know what to do. And that's when everything changed. That's when everything started shifting. And that's what brought me to being here today. And I never looked back. And ever since then, I'm just learning to reprogram my thoughts. I know that I'm the only one who's in my way. So thank you so much. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I like how you said, I'm the only one that's in my way. It's just that I find myself in my own way a lot too. And reprogramming that is, you know, because you find yourself like, why am I thinking this? Like, you know, and when you catch it, and then you're able to shift it. But like, and like you're saying, like it was kind of in your way because you didn't realize that that was playing in the back of your head until, there it is.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Awareness is key, isn't it? And it's such a process. It's annoying because it's so hard.
I think I had that in there. Actually, it's annoying in my part of it.
I know. You keep doing the same thing, expecting different result. It doesn't work. Kathleen.
I appreciate your presentation, and so much of it is in tune with what I teach. So it's always wonderful to have others teaching the same thing about thoughts, because so many of our thoughts were never ours in the first place. And once I had that awareness that so many of these were my father's thoughts or my mother's thoughts or teachers' thoughts or wherever in my life, it makes a big difference when you realize, where are those thoughts coming from? Where do they originate from? So thank you for reinforcing that.
You know, I'm glad you said that, because when I was writing this, I was thinking about my daughter's husband, you know, and I had a conversation with his mom, and he's an angry young man. And I was having a conversation with his mom, and she was talking about how horrible he was. And I was like, oh, that's why he's an angry young man. So I've been working with him, and, just because that was said to you doesn't mean that you have to act on it. It doesn't,
Right.
You have an awareness now, so you can shift it to be a positive thought. He's still at the very beginning stages, so it's not, embedded yet. So, but I'm glad you said that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Sue?
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that wonderful presentation, for starters. It was just fabulous. I actually have my master's degrees in psychology. So it's like, yep, she is so spot on everything. And even though, yes, I know this information, do I always apply it to my life? Oh, I mean, I know I should. Everyone knows they should at some level, but life gets busy, life gets complicated, and it's so easy to forget and stop and take the time to redirect your thoughts. Redirecting your thoughts is the key, really, to everything. And it's just so easy to get caught up in the busyness of whatever's going on at the moment and forgetting to take that time. So this is just such a great reminder to everybody, just to really stop and think through what is motivating your behavior, what's motivating your thoughts, your patterns. Truly just a fabulous reminder for everybody, and education. So I'm grateful for that. And currently I'm working on patterning my mind to work less. I'm a Midwest girl, and you are supposed to work from sunup to bedtime, right? That is the mindset of where I grew up and my family. And I'm trying to work. My husband retired, but I stayed a workaholic, and I'm trying to work less. I enjoy my work, so it's not like I hate my work. I love it, but I need to work less and do more besides that. So that's something I'm repatterning right now. And this was just a fabulous reminder to stay on that journey. And I am succeeding, but there's still work to be done. So thank you, Tamara. Appreciate it.
I love that you said, like, we get busy and we just don't realize what's happening. And so it reminded me of the path with the bike. It's so much easier, you're trying to get yourself off of that path and to create a new path, and then you just kind of fall back into the old way when you get so busy and you don't take the time to think. And yeah, I totally have been there.
We're such a creature of habit, aren't we? Though it's really hard to change old habits and trying to do new one. And Sue, I'm retired and I keep working. What do you take a break? Go line dancing. But anyway, yeah, Lori.
Hi. So thank you, Tamara. Is it Tamara or Tamara? Tamara? Okay. Thank you for your presentation. It was a great reminder for me. I studied through the Brave Thinking Institute going back about 5 years ago, and that was a very similar thing that was taught. And what I know to be true for me is that throughout my life, I think that you and I probably have some similarities in our upbringing. And so I notice with myself that you need tools in your tool belt to equip yourself to adapt to different situations. And I think when you have that ability to really get curious about why you're thinking about things in a certain way, it really gives you those tools to be able to help you in your situations. And for me, over the past 5 years since I studied that type of programming, I've noticed that, like other people have said on the call, when you get busy and stuff like that, you start moving away. But when it gets to a certain point where it's like, no, hold on a second. Let's just stop and breathe a little bit. Let's get quiet with ourselves. Let's think this through. And when you put yourself back into that state, it really helps you to be able to come up with the answers that you need. So it was really good.
Yeah, I studied at the Break Thinking Institute as well. So
Oh, that's nice. I thought you may have actually.
Yes.
good information. I love
That's-
the information. So
Yeah, that's
but
wonderful.
yeah.
So did I, Lori, I also, I'm a certified dream builder coach, Mary Morrissey. So we all went to the same
Oh,
institute.
that's so cool. That's awesome. I didn't do anything with my coaching, and that's something that I'm sort of visiting in my life right now. So because I think that I might just start doing some of those things. So mhm.
Oh, it's
Thank you.
definitely needed in the world. So you will be used for sure.
Yes. Yeah, no, yeah, I love what I do in my career and stuff like that, but I've been telling myself some stories that may just not be true. So therefore I'm in an expansive way of thought right now to kind of turn things around. So yeah.
Good. So that I'm glad that this was helpful.
Oh, it was. As soon as I was like, oh man, I needed this, because I keep on saying to myself, I need to pull out my books. I need to I need to do that dream building exercise all over again, because it does. It gives you the tools for where you want to be, and it really does change your thinking for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you
Yeah.
said that, because us as creatures of habit, if we're in a group, and I think I need to put that in there, but when we're in a group of people, of like-minded people, then we tend to stay on track more than if we get caught up in our own head and we start going down. So like, I've missed the coffee club several times, and I need to get back in here because I really enjoy this group of women. And but I also have the training with Mary Morrissey still. So I've been really busy with that. But just having the group together helps us become more aware of what's going on in our own minds and help us to stay on track. So if you come to this
Yeah.
every week, then you'll have that help, that needed support.
Yes.
Absolutely.
This is a good reminder. Thank you, Lori. Julie.
Yes, sorry, I just wanted to, I have to go to another meeting in about 5 minutes. So I just wanted to quickly say thanks, Tamara. That was amazing. And I can remember too, first discovering, that you actually had some control on your thoughts. That was another thing that was, I don't think we were brought up to think. And and as a child, I didn't realize, but I was a questioner, and I questioned absolutely everything. And it made me a bit unpopular, I even questioned the minister, at church and things, and said, well, how does that work? Because it's just curiosity, but it did get me into trouble. And then you begin to lose self-esteem and think there's something wrong with you, So it's good to be a questioner always. And but yeah, old habits die hard, don't they? And we soon sneak back into the comfort zone, or the uncomfortable comfort. Yeah. I think that's more like it. But thank you. Yes, and it is constant work. Well, constant reminder. And I think these days, since COVID, I think everything's changed for everybody with the way of thinking, and people are really realizing that you have the power to control it just in a moment, actually. Yeah, just in a moment you can change that thinking, and hopefully the other stuff's attracted. So thank you very much. And I'll leave you ladies now and see you next week.
Have a good meeting.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Julie.
Thanks.
Thank you for your
coming.
share.
Bye-bye.
Yes, Jane, you're next.
Lovely, and I saw your message. Thank you. It was good seeing you.
Yeah, my connection's a little weak, so I put it in the chat. I wanted to know, Tamara, if do you do a practice, a meditation, an action of any kind on a daily basis that helps you to get yourself to that higher ground?
I do every morning. That's usually when I miss the coffee club because I get into my meditation and I'm like, oh no, it's already 8 o'clock. I missed it. But I get into meditation and it's usually about an hour, 2 hours. And I just think about everything that I'm grateful for and just everything that's pointing out everything to my subconscious that's gone right. And sometimes, like this morning, I started doing my meditation and I was like, oh, but the computer went down. And, I started like, oh, I hope this is going to turn out right. But then I'm like, nope. I had to reprogram that. I was like, okay, so what do I want to happen? Well, I want it to all go well. If it doesn't, then that's okay, because I know this group of women are very forgiving. So give yourself some grace. But just reprogramming that to when you start thinking like the negative thought, start, catch it, notice it, and then, oh, okay. You could either take the time then to say, I wonder what that's about. Or if you don't have time, just put your thoughts in something that's going right, or that is positive for you, or a vision. So like my dream home, that's what one of the things I did this morning was I put myself in my dream home, walking through it, and that brought my vibration up. So whatever it is for you that helps you bring your vibration up, just change your, shift it. Say, okay, I know that you're there. Thank you for showing me this. And then here's what I really want to think. Kind of thing. And I do the meditation every morning, and you don't have to do it for very long. I'm very grateful that I have that time right now that I get to do it. So I'm doing it, but it's not always going to be that way. I'm going to have to get up and get going. So I take 20 minutes if I'm in a hurry or whatever, and it always sets my day to that positive vibration. Is that helpful? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane, and thank you, Tamara. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, but I think if any of you need to leave, feel free to do so. But Joey, you're next.
Hi, Tamara. Thank you for this topic. I love topics like this, about conscious and subconscious. And we know that we operate mostly in subconscious, 95%. So personally, in our journey to self-development, we learned that it's not enough that you attend seminars or you read books or you do affirmations and these other tools to improve ourselves. I mean, they're important, but it's not enough. So what we need really is to reprogram, according to Dr. Bruce Lipton, because during our conscious state, we are fired up, we feel like we can do this, we can finally change. But when we sleep, our subconscious kicks in and we're back to the old patterns, to the old programming. So we need to have reprogramming tools. Like in our case, we listen to subliminal programming, or we do meditations, and when we sleep, we listen to reprogramming audios, and they really help a lot. So, and in my case, I'm hyper conscious. So every time that I do the reprogramming, these subliminal audios, I always think when I wake up, have I changed? Have I changed? I'm always so hyper conscious about that, but it does help because, like I said, I mean, like Dr. Bruce Lipton has said, and what you have mentioned here, our first 7 years, that's when we have recorded everything. So it's still there, and we need to go back and
if we can change, then we try to change, but we cannot change it consciously. Has to be done unconsciously. So with this reprogramming tools that, subliminal programming, they do help a lot. So again, it's a lifelong journey. We never stop to learn and we learn every day. And it's good that we have this group to always discuss it and remind us of all these tools. So thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you. And having 5 little ones yourself, I'm sure that you're like really trying to figure out how you can nail it down to make sure that they don't go through what you went through, kind of thing. Yeah.
They're not so little anymore. They're already teenagers, most of them. And yeah, we started them young, and that's why they don't have the kind, when you talk to them, you'd hear more drama from adult people. But with our kids, they will think, oh, they're always grateful that we did a different kind of parenting with them.
Thank you, Joey. Yeah, your kids are
Yeah.
amazing. I know Tony and Omeka has to leave, so Tony and then Omeka. Tony?
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, Tamara. I was just writing in the chat. I was just saying, thank you, Tamara. Such an important conversation. The brain is very malleable. We can change the course of our thoughts and everything else that follows after that. And I think this was my journey a long time ago, being an athlete. When I was coaching in sport, you have some crazy stuff go through your brain when you're under pressure. So we don't really think of, sport as something that we apply to our life, but they're completely intertwined, and they're a tapestry of the essence of who we are. So, it does start right from that core beginning, of what's happening within you, because it turns that thought into a feeling, and then that feeling into an action, of course, which turns into results. But my big thing was, when I was on that journey, and was, where do the thoughts come from? That was always the really interesting. And I noticed a lot of the ladies had mentioned that my thoughts are not mine. Like, oh my gosh, where the heck did that come from? Right? You don't even realize that you've adopted, or somehow it just became yours and you don't even know it became yours. And this is where I started talking about beliefs. It actually stems from the beliefs. Do those beliefs really belong to you? Or maybe they did at one time, but you've now moved on and grown. And this is why these conversations of conscious versus unconscious are more powerful than people realize. But what I love about them is I love the different perspectives. The foundation is the same. The conversation is the same as far as the foundation, but the perspectives are very interesting.
Yes.
Because it allows people to go, oh, wait a minute. Holy crap, I think that way. It's like, oh, that's where it came from. Like, you're finding these little tiny little connections, when we talked about the dots and stuff, you find these little connections that you didn't even give it a, no pun intended, didn't even give it a thought, until somebody had shared their story, their perspective. That's why I love the conversations, because more and more are becoming aware of conscious versus subconscious. Where does it all stem from? But I like the conversations of the personal journey, so that more can see in such a way that is not typically delivered in a overall presentation. So thank you for sharing your personal journey today. That's really appreciated.
Thank
Just
you,
a
Tony.
quick
Yeah, go ahead.
question. So the identical twins, that, I guess that was kind of like, I wanted to see if that kind of resonated with you, because it really resonated with me when I was having this conversation with this guy, and they were identical, and I came away with 2 totally different experiences. And it just kind of helps us, I think, to realize that we can have our own thoughts and not realize where they're coming from, like you were saying, and then we can also shift them. Was that something that resonated with you guys, or should I take that out?
No,
I did?
that's
Okay.
true.
Okay.
No, it's definitely true, because what even as identical, I mean, what is identical? They're not identical souls.
Right.
The essence of the soul, right, is not going to be the same as the body, right? So it would totally make sense that they would have, different feeling. So that's cool. I like it.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank
I'll
you.
see you on the other call soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. And Omeka, I know you have to leave also, so go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, great conversation. I need to have it a couple of times a day. What I do is I do the affirmations on the mirror, and I wake up, hi, how are you? I love you. I use all my names, Omeka Lori Marie Washington Rich. I hug myself, I kiss myself, and sometimes I'm like, okay, you went and brushed your teeth and you didn't do your affirmations, so I go back. So it's just a constant. They're right there on the mirror. It's like, okay, I do the unthinkable bounce back system 15-minute meditation. I did that before here at least, and I do positive prime. So that reticular activating system is really important, and for me, and it's really helpful. Just seeing other people smiling and the beaches of the world and great food, and just it's wonderful. So yeah, constantly reprogramming, and me, I gotta breathe because I get all tense and stressed out, and I'm like, okay, the stress is coming from within me. Okay, I'm thinking that if this person doesn't do this, or if my mother doesn't get up until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then this is going to be the way I feel, and I could change it at any moment. So I give thanks. I'm giving gratefulness to my dog over here, who kind of calms me down. His name is Blessing, and just saying his name all the time is a beautiful thing. And this group is wonderful. And all groups that I go to, I need it. I have to have it, and I'm grateful, 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 grateful. So thank you. And
Grateful you're here.
yeah, constant gratitude and forgiveness for myself, and just knowing that I can change. So yes, I screamed at somebody, I'm not gonna let anybody take my power away. So I'm a pray, heal, drum warrior goddess, and just saying that over and over. It took me a while just to say it. I'm like, okay, well, that means I have power to create the life that I want. So thank you all.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tamara.
Omeka, you're so amazing. I just love you. I mean, it's like you just always so positive, always, even, regardless of the circumstances. Appreciate that. Kathleen Klein, you're next. I know Kathleen will be presenting next week, so grateful to see you here. Kathleen, I know you're driving. Can you speak? Can you talk?
There we go. Hi, I just had to unmute.
Okay.
Great topic. I really loved it. I definitely subscribe to it. I've been reading books like You Can Heal Your Life by Louise B. Hay, who talks about this exact thing, to create perfect health for yourself. I go to a that
We can't hear you,
is
Kathleen.
on the teachings of Louise. You there?
Yes, it's just hard
Can
to
you hear
hear
me?
you. You're going in and out.
Okay, so I'll make it quick. There's the Center for Religious Science, I believe it is, in New York City, that their teachings are based on Louise B. Hay and Ernest Holmes. And so they both speak to this, and all the intelligence we need, everything we need is inside of us, and reprogramming our brains is essential, I feel, to a healthy, happy life, because so many of us grew up with people portraying us in the world as less than perfect. So we grew up with that thinking. So changing our mindset and believing that we are perfection, and
Kathleen,
I
we
love
can,
it. Every week is something new. Okay, so
thank you for your share. It's hard to hear you. But looking forward to your presentation next week. Faith, you're the last one. I know we're past the hour here, ladies. Faith, can you speak? Thank you,
Yeah,
Kathleen.
I thought that was really great. And it's actually a process I'm working hard on right now. I would like to mention about the unconscious thoughts. I would leave that in and maybe even explore it more, because a lot of times for me, and maybe other ladies have experienced this, when I'm in the process of trying to change, I'll have a panic attack. I'll get triggered by something and have a full-blown panic attack and have no idea what the thought is behind that, where that came from. Sometimes when I reflect on it, I can figure it out, but sometimes I can't. So depending on how good your recall is or how much you blocked out, sometimes things happen or put a thought in your mind that's very scary for you and can be triggered by doing something different. And also having to constantly sort of challenge the self-sabotage I do, because what is amazing to me is how extraordinarily strong the feeling of wanting to do what you know to feel comfortable and safe is, even though you know the results are not what you want. And that rut, which is another word for path, but becomes a rut when it's not working for you. That rut I have found is really challenging to break. It's like you start with this thought, and a lot of fear is involved in change and discomfort, and you talk yourself sticking to it or taking a break if the overwhelm is too strong and then going back at it again. But it's like the negative thought makes the next negative thing happen and the next negative thing happen. And that rut, I wondered if you had a simple, quick, like if you're on the subway and you want to pull the handle and stop the direction the train's going in, do you have a pull handle for getting yourself out of that rut? And I want to thank you very much for this talk. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Faith, for this. I want to tell you, like, you're probably ahead of 95% of the people, because a lot of people aren't even aware that their mind is going through this, and you are aware of it. And you're taking the steps to become the person that you want to be, that you've decided that you're going to be. You can't do that if you're not aware of what's going on in your body and your mind. So you're noticing that. And I'll share a quick story because I know you guys have to go. But when I left my job, I sat for 4 days in that panic. And I kept trying to talk myself, give the positive thoughts, and then I'd go back into it. And I remember just laying on the bed, all curled up in a ball, saying, "What the hell did I do?" But it was something that had to be done, and that was me being stretched. And this is you being stretched, because we only know what we know. And when we hit that fear, like you're talking about, that's you being stretched beyond that fear. And once you get beyond it, and you'll notice that the more you do it, once you get beyond that fear, you're like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I felt like my body felt like it was. It's because we're used to that pattern. And so as we break that pattern each time, we're going to keep doing it, and we're going to have that fear, but it's going to be less and less every time you do it. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I might have to add that. Rainey, you're on a mute.
You're muted,
Oh.
Rainey.
Okay, I was just saying that thank you, Faith, for that question, and Tamara for your answer. I think all of us get in a rut at times, so you're not alone. That is a very, very changing, repatterning your thinking is not an easy thing to do. It takes repetition to keep doing it. But this is such a great topic, Tamara. Thank you so much. Next week is Kathleen Klein sharing about the health. It's a health topic about psychedelic, the use of psychedelic. I can't remember the full topic, but it's a health topic next week. So looking forward to seeing all of you. So Tamara, if you want to close this out, do you have any last word before we part here?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you. Thank you, Rennie, for inviting me to do this. And thank you all for having so much grace with my technology. And you know, as we go through our days, and it seems so easy. Oh, I'll just think a positive thought. But really, it is that easy once we get beyond that fear point. Once we get beyond that fear point. And it's so, we want to, because we are human, we want to do something big, like to make a big change right away. But it really is these little baby steps of just having those positive thoughts, retraining your brain to the sane and staying on the path that you want to stay on to get the results that you want. And we do that by the positive thoughts and visualization, things that keep you in that higher vibration. So, and I hope it was helpful. And thank you all for coming. I appreciate you all.
It was.
Very,
Thank you
very
so much.
helpful. Yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next week.
See y'all later. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Lori,
Thank
for
you.
it's your
Bye.
first time here. Thank you,
Yes,
everyone.
Well, I
See you next
always
week.
work at,
Yes.
hear I always work at 9 a.m. So that's why it's always challenging. And I'm Mountain Standard Time. So that's why. But today I happen to be off. So I was able to do it. But I see other people are driving through it. So that's something that I can always do as well. So I will see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay.
And looking forward, Kathleen, next week.
Yes.
Bye all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.